Hi, Bob.
Hey, Zax.
Well, you have the perfect tone for what we're getting into.
This
You
episode
are.
is so. I don't even know if it's the worst episode of the show. It's
Yeah,
definitely the most boring, in my
yeah,
opinion.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, it is. Well, I'm just gonna introduce it and we can just dive right into the plot because this is one of the ones where just like really not a lot happens.
yeah.
This
I don't know
is,
how long this episode of our show will be, but probably won't be as long as it will be as long as the episode itself, but probably won't be as long as our other episodes of Get Creeped Out.
yeah. So, this is season 1 of Creeped Out, episode 8, The Call. And it opens up with the curious, and he's doing his usual creepy.
Wandering around a school thing, and the
And he's
narrator
like,
says something like, have you ever felt uncomfortable in your own skin? What if there was a reason for that? And I'm like, oh, I see. So this episode's going to be a thing about teenagers coming to terms with who they are. That's pretty low hanging fruit for this
but
show, which is
also,
actually kind of their whole thing.
yeah, literally almost every episode in one way or another has to do with feeling comfortable in your own skin. So I'm really glad that they're branching out to new things to teach children about. To which some people might be like, oh, well, they're just here to entertain. Well, they didn't do that either. So.
Yeah. So the
So.
narrator says that, and then we see the opening shot is like there's a girl and she's laying in her bed, and there's like a storm or something outside, and she's having a dream of the sea, and she hears whispering voices saying like, "Go back to the sea," and instantly, literally within 20 seconds of the episode proper starting, I'm like, oh, she's a mermaid, which is like
Yeah.
that's not. I don't know if there was ever a time in the history of cinema, where that was considered subtle storytelling, but it's not
And,
now.
yeah. And then we go to that, like, so she wakes up with a start, and the next morning, her parents are like, oh, Pearl. Her name is Pearl. So, like,
Yeah, her name is Pearl, and
they
she's
blew the
picking
gig.
her 15th birthday's coming up, and she's picking a theme. And I'm thinking, now that I think about it, her birthday's supposed to be 4 days from when they're having this conversation, and they've already sent out the invites. How do you not have a theme picked out yet?
Oh, yeah.
I'm
That
suddenly
makes.
realizing, like, this is malplanned. Like, you really need to figure this out.
Well, once we get to the party, it doesn't look like they did too much planning.
Yeah, well, yeah,
So.
that's true. They didn't try that hard. But she decides an under the sea theme is the one she wants to go with, and I'm just like,
Ooh.
that's a real chin scratcher. I wonder what's gonna happen in this episode. And
Yeah.
she's like, oh, nobody's gonna come because nobody's RSVP'd to the party. And while we were watching this episode, you mentioned that you really hate it when people don't RSVP.
Oh my gosh. Anytime I'm throwing a thing, no, like, maybe, like, people who I know are going to come RSVP, but then, like, the new people or something, they just don't. And it's so frustrating because it's like, I mentally prepared for this many friends.
And potentially
You were
fiscally
not.
prepared. You might have bought tickets or dinner or
Yeah.
whatever.
So what me and my friend have started doing now is when, like, we text out the invites or whatever to, like, whatever, we don't include the address. So, like, if you want to know where it is,
You have
you
to
need
RSVP.
you
And
need to confirm.
I've never
You need to
had this.
communicate with me in some way.
Yeah, see, like,
if
I've
you
never
want
had
to
this
attend.
issue because I don't invite people to things generally. I just don't have a lot of things for people to RSVP to. But, like,
Yeah.
I wanted to bring that up so that you would tell people this because I think that's a pretty clever solution.
Yeah.
That might help somebody who's listening. If you're
I
inviting
don't.
people and you have a problem with people not RSVPing, don't tell them where it is.
Yeah. Come back to this video and leave a comment and let me know if that helped
It
you.
won't work if they already know where it is.
Yeah, it's
I
kind of
guess you could
like
also maybe say, like, when it is. Like, you could say, like, it's on Tuesday, but you don't say what time. But I don't
that's
know. That's
risky
kind
though.
of, yeah.
Cause like if you're planning for people to come at 5 and then some guy shows up at 12 and you're like not
Then he's helping you
ready,
set
then
up.
I
Although I don't want to
guess.
spend 5 extra hours
I
with
mean,
that person. Never
although I
mind.
should also disclose that I'm not really talking about like lavish parties or anything. I'm just talking about
Well,
like a
yeah.
kickback with a few people. This isn't like a big deal. I think my trick is just for like a casual like,
Yeah, like if you're having,
hey,
like, inviting some people from work, they probably don't know where you live, like,
yeah,
memorized.
yeah.
Alternatively, you could also give some kind of passphrase if you wanted to be a real jerk about it. You say, like, you call RSVP to learn the passphrase, and then they get to the door on the day of the party, and you say, what's the passphrase? And they go, oh, I didn't RSVP. You go, okay, well, you're not coming in, and you close the door in their face.
Grab the gift first though.
Yeah, take the gift if they brought a gift. The gift didn't have to RSVP, only them. So, give me that. Bye.
Yeah.
You know?
So then her
Oh,
dad
right.
is
So,
like,
so
"Oh
she
well,
nobody's
you
RSVPing to her party.
yeah." So her dad is like, "Oh well, let's put Danny on the job. You know, he's more." Then the mom's like, "Confident. He's more
And
confident."
dad
And
is
then
like, yeah, I
and so
wasn't. You're a loser. Oh,
somehow
I mean, the parents are struggling to find
somehow
a word for it.
somehow the whole family agreed that saying he's more confident was the way to go.
Mm-hmm.
Which, like, if I'm already a teenage girl lacking self esteem, hearing that I'm not confident, whether or not I agree, doesn't help.
From my parents,
So,
especially.
yeah, you know, you were honestly, like, you could have just stopped at maybe your brother could help.
Yeah.
End of
Like, the girl
sentence.
didn't even go, why Danny? Like,
Yeah. It was unprompted. They just really, they're
they
really
just were
proud
like,
of
hey, I see an
Danny.
easy opportunity to dunk on my daughter. Let's do it.
Well, honestly, the European episodes of Creeped Out have authority figures
The English
just dunk.
episodes of Creeped Out.
Well, is this British too?
Yeah, but I mean, like, you said European. I don't want anybody to think that anywhere else in Europe was involved.
Well, I think this one I thought was Australia.
No, only
Just
Pui
the
was from Australia. Everybody
oh,
else
just
was
one
British.
actress. Oh, okay, just one actress we meet later. Okay.
Also, Australia's not in Europe.
all right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, y'all didn't come to Kind of Friends for geography advice, I guess. So anyway,
That was sad. Anyway, so
my point is in these episodes, not so much the Well, actually, no, in the Canadian ones too. You just kind of have adults just kind of dunking on kids. Because in Shed No Fear, that teacher wasn't having any of what's his face's ukulele playing.
I forgot how much I disliked Shed No Fear.
Yeah.
I'm trying to
Okay. So
fi-
back.
well, yeah, okay.
So,
So anyway, so they're talking about the birthday invites or whatever. We are in the opening scene of this episode. So
Yeah.
Danny's like, yeah, I guess I can try to help, but you shouldn't really worry about it because people don't really generally RSVP until like a couple of weeks out from the party anyway. And Pearl, the sister, is like, the mermaid, I mean sister, is like, the party's in 4 days, and I'm like, why don't you have a theme picked? Like, seriously, come on. But fine. Danny's like,
Yeah.
ooh, jeez, okay, yeah, I'll try to help you get some, whatever. And like, Danny and Pearl have a pretty good sister-brother relationship, I think. A lot of times these shows, they try to make them like too, like, oh, I'm gonna give you a friendly ribbing. Oh, I'll give you a friendly ribbing back, and it feels really fake.
yeah, these are just two people who live together. They're down for each other,
And they're just friendly.
cool.
And I'm like, cool. That is how most sibling relationships are most of the time. Yes, sometimes you do get into the friendly ribbing, but like most families don't have that going on constantly. Except in my
Yeah.
family, where my mom turns into the butt of the joke constantly, which makes me feel bad. Um, and so she goes to school. Did that get a little real for you?
I didn't know where you were gonna go, but that's one thing. Your family has just so many interesting. I didn't think you were gonna go there with your mom. I thought you were gonna be like, oh, sometimes there's friendly ribbing. Sometimes your brother runs over you with a car.
He didn't
You
run
know,
over me. He
so
just hit me with his car.
the fact that you can like
Thrice.
legitimately clarify that is horrifying.
Anyway. Anyway, they go to school, and Pearl hears the whispering in her head again. And I'm like, earlier in the episode, the Curious was talking, the lady narrating over the Curious was like, you feel uncomfortable in your own skin? And I'm like, I hope this episode doesn't start venturing into schizophrenia, because she's hearing voices in her head, and
Yeah,
I don't
and
think
like
Creeped
being
Out is capable of
comfortable.
handling a topic that heavy.
Yeah, they really are not. So then,
They're not even capable of handling the topics they've tried to handle.
yeah, so it leads her, she looks at the pool for a second, and then she wanders into a
Oh, hang on.
class?
Hang on. Don't
What?
forget that Danny also, Danny starts, asking people if they can come to the party, right?
Right,
And
okay,
so
we know some
Danny's like,
voices now.
yeah, Danny's like, can I just say, it would not be an episode of Get Creeped Out if we weren't constantly cutting each other off to say, hang on, you're forgetting something. It is
That's
a
true.
hallmark of the series. I feel like most of the people who listen to these have no idea what the episode's about by the end of it, which is great. I love that.
I'm trying to help people.
No, I mean, I don't think they're coming here for the real. Like, let's be real, they're not coming here for that. Anyways, so the. I mean, if they were, we would just skip this episode because it's so dull. So So your boy Danny goes up to some girls and it's like, hey, can you come to the party? We don't hear their conversation. We just see Pearl standing around awkwardly. And then he comes back to Pearl and she's like, so what'd they say? And he says, well, first they asked why I'm asking them to come to the party and not you. And she's like, well, what'd you tell them? And he's like, I told them mom and dad forced me. And she's like, what? And he's like, no, of course I didn't say that. Don't be ridiculous. Like, I'm not an amateur. And then he doesn't actually give what he said, but it doesn't really matter because, like, this is normal dialogue. I actually kind of appreciate this dialogue here. And then she's like, so did they say they would come? And he says, basically, he got a firm maybe, which is,
Yeah.
like, not a great answer, but it's more than she got. She got nothing. So
Yeah.
then she's like, all right, well, I'll see you later. And
Can I
she,
just say, and again, I know I already ranted about my feelings on RSVPs, but like, honestly, a maybe is worse to me.
oh, I agree.
Why?
I didn't
Why
want to
you
say that.
ju-
I didn't want to say it in case you felt differently, but I absolutely agree. A maybe
say,
so much worse.
Honestly, say no.
Yeah, I would rather
Just
receive
if
an
you're
F
not
no.
sure, don't call. Don't come.
Yeah,
Like, if I invite you in 2 weeks to, like, here, I'm having a Star Wars night, can you make it? Maybe. You're uninvited. Can we all just be mean to people now? Because I'm tired of, people who get invited to stuff all the time jerking around the people who do the inviting. Like,
yeah,
honestly,
I mean, like if I'm being invited to something and I don't honestly think I'm going to come, like they say, oh, it's a Star Wars night. I'm not that into Star Wars, but I might come. But if it's like people I don't know that well and I'm probably not gonna go, or I'm looking at my I'm looking at my mood right now and I'm like, next week I'm probably gonna be feeling like crap anyways. So I'm like, I'll probably just say it's nice that you invited me, but no thanks. Like,
yeah.
just because, like, and it is nice that they invited me. And,
Yeah, but,
if I
like-
was in a great mood, I might. And, like, I might even text them on the day and be like, hey, man, I know I said no. But, like, I'm actually
Yeah.
feeling pretty decent. Can I come anyways? Give you a heads
Yeah.
up, right? But if they say, like, oh, I didn't buy enough tickets, that'll be like, okay, that's cool. Don't worry about it. I said no before. We'll stick with no.
Yeah, you can always change. Like, even if it's like, honestly, like, I don't know what's going to be going down, but I don't think I
And if
can
you're
make
one,
it. So, most likely, no. But, like, just
even
don't
if
waste
you're one of those
my
people, if you're
time.
one of those people who genuinely means maybe, like you genuinely don't know, you should change your response to remind me later. Because
Yeah.
I know
Or,
it's unhelpful to the person who's organizing the party to have to keep reminding you. But at the same time, that is still better than which is nothing.
yeah, like, I have, like, I RSVP'd yes to a party once, and, like, the day before I had to cancel because just stuff came up. But I just let the person know, like, I'm so sorry. I normally, like, would have tried everything to make it there, but, like, this, like, stuff I wasn't ready for
Emergency,
happened.
yeah.
Yeah, so I'm sorry, I can't go. And they were like, oh, like, thanks for letting me know. Like, just don't waste people's time.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
Do you prefer
Any.
question. Would you prefer
Okay.
a maybe to a yes who doesn't show up and never contacts you?
Ugh, I hate both.
But which do you
But
prefer?
I guess
Cash
I'll
or the
take the.
diamonds?
I'll. Oh.
That's a reference only like ones of your viewers will understand.
If even.
If even.
Oh, okay. I wasn't ready for that. Should I put an end card for them in the
No,
corner?
do not card them.
Okay.
No.
That'll be its own video.
What?
Okay.
We're not making a video about them.
Can't we?
I mean, if you want to, but I feel like it's a dead horse.
Yeah, but maybe the world needs to know Cash or the Diamond.
I'm pretty sure the band has been disbanded for like 10 years.
Okay. Wow. Oh my gosh. Look at how much we have to talk about. That's not the episode.
Yeah, look at how easily distracted we are from this boring episode.
We just want to talk about anything else.
Here, how about this? I'm just going to run through the plot of the episode and just
And
stop me if I miss something and just tell me if you have something that you'd like to
add.
to add or mention, but otherwise I'm just going to power through.
Okay, and we could just discuss at the end. I think that's the safest way. Yeah.
Because otherwise we're going to get distracted and nobody will ever know what the episode's about. Okay.
Yeah,
so
just bullet point.
So Danny tells the girls, we get some maybes. Then Pearl is like, all right, bye. She hears whispering again. She looks at a sign that's a swimming pool and just kind of wanders around the school until she finds a classroom that she wanders into where there's already a person standing at the front of the class. Later we'll find out her name is Pui. She's from Australia. I guess that's a name. She's standing at the front of the class giving a talk on marine conservation. And Pearl is drinking.
Let me tell this part.
Okay.
Okay. So she, Pui is like, you exactly what I'm talking about. Humans and their dirty plastic bottles.
And Pearl is drinking from a plastic bottle, like as she walks into the room. And hold on before you tell them what happens in the scene. I gotta ask, how does this school work? She just arrived at school. Half the kids are still in the hall. She wanders into a classroom. I guess she doesn't have a schedule. And there's someone already giving a talk to a room full of kids. Yeah. What is the schedule? When do classes start? What is this?
Maybe it's a block schedule.
A block schedule doesn't mean half the kids are out in the hall.
I never had a block schedule.
I had a block schedule. It meant every kid had a place to be. And you might be like, oh, maybe it's a Montessori school. Pretty sure this isn't how Montessori schools work either. Man, you have to go to a place. I was in a Montessori school. And when I was in that system, you had to be doing something. Granted, I didn't get enough language credits because I was busy doing all the math activities over and over and over, which is why I can't speak for crap now. But, like, come on!
Yeah. Don't do math.
Yeah.
That was your
point,
right?
Ha! Math was crap. If you want to know why, then steal a hen. It's a wrap.
Okay. So
I didn't write that, so it's clear. I didn't write that.
Okay.
I'll show you afterwards.
All right. Yeah. Secret.
It's from Jake and Amir. You can put a card in the corner for that if you want.
No.
Okay.
They have enough views.
Okay, fair enough.
Okay. Anyway, so she's like, look, okay, you land lover, you're gonna help me with this demonstration. So she takes her plastic bottle, finishes it off. This grown woman
steals this girl's bottle and finishes it off.
And then she puts it on the floor. And then she's like, okay, now jump on it. And so Pearl...
Real quick, she says, jump on it. This is what happens to marine life when you put your plastic bottles in the ocean.
And so then she jumps on it. And I think when we were watching this, I think you said that. So every time you dump a plastic bottle in the ocean, a dolphin gets curb stomped.
I guess, apparently.
Yeah.
According to this episode. Because, like, what are you saying? How is this analogous to what happens to dolphins?
Yeah, and then, like, but then everyone's so happy they applaud.
Yeah, and she looks around like, they like me. They really, really like me. And I'm like, no, they don't. They just like, I don't know, the loud sound that the bottle made when it popped.
Yeah.
That's, I mean, easily amused teens. If I knew that's all I needed to do to get views on YouTube, I would just jump on bottle. Oh, that could be a trend, actually.
I feel like the problem, here's something, that our viewers also come here for, is that after Marty and now this, we keep finding terrible YouTube channels for you to start.
Yeah.
So
was the one from Marty that I was going to do drugs?
Yeah, you're basically going to get your teeth cleaned every day.
Well, no, that was what we started with, but then I just decided we were just going to go straight into meth.
Oh.
Right? Like, I mean, at a certain point we're no longer talking about anything about my teeth. It's now just, although I probably could do with a good teeth cleaning. I haven't had, it doesn't matter. Okay, so they stomp on the bottle. Can I go back to mine?
Yeah.
Okay. So it doesn't make any sense. And she says, at the end of this thing, Pearl asks Pui, the person who's giving the speech, what can I do? Nobody comes to my birthday or whatever. And she says, it's about confidence. You should learn to act on instinct instead of thinking too much. And I'm like, okay, that if that helps, fine. And so then we cut to the end of school, and Danny and Pearl are about to leave, and they're standing there with their backpacks or whatever, and Danny says, hold on, I gotta drain the main vein, or something to that effect. I don't know why he phrases it so disgustingly. I guess he's a teen, so teens speak like this. Mm-hmm. Big old question mark. And so, I don't know. Pearl says, all right, I'll just wait here. And Danny goes into the bathroom. And Pearl starts hearing the whispering in her head again. And it's like, swim, go to the water, something. And she's like, all right. And she just drops her bag where she is and just starts walking towards the swimming pool. And she dives face first into the water as though she's like in a trance or something. Danny comes out of the bathroom, sees her bag on the floor, does not assume she went the direction of the doors, and instead just somehow, by magic instinct, knows she went to the swimming pool, and he picks up her bag and starts walking in that direction. And then, he sees through a window that she's in the water, and he goes, Pearl, no! Which is like, is she allergic to water? Why are you saying that when you first see her underwater? And then he runs to the door of the pool, and he comes out, and he's like, Pearl, oh my gosh, you were under there for so long. And she comes up for air, and she's like, oh, hey, Danny, what's going on? And he's like, what? She doesn't even bring up that she's swimming without changing clothes at all. But, he's like, you were under there for so long, I was so worried. And she's like, no, I'm fine. And so then he's very impressed by, she apparently has the ability to breathe underwater, and she is extremely nonplussed by this. She doesn't. Yeah. She couldn't care less.
And I think we're kind of like in agreement on this basically, but like whenever this happens in shows where like new normal person figures out they're not so normal and then their sidekick is like, "Whoa, you're amazing." Where it's like but the normal newfound power person is just like, "Ugh,
Yeah, they're like, Pshaw, there's nothing
Tuesday."
special about me. And then the other person's like exploding with excitement, asking like, do you have laser vision? Can you fly? Can you read my mind? And it's like, there's no reason to assume any of those things.
Because also, if
But
you
also,
read a
you do
comic
have
book
some right
where-
to be excited. And for some reason, this person is not excited at all.
I guess the one thing I will say though is like there are so many superheroes who have one power.
Yeah.
Why do you assume?
I mean, like, Ant-Man can change his size.
Yeah.
I guess it would be pretty lame if he could only get smaller.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyways, so
back to your summary.
So then Danny says, we're both adopted. And that's something that was, like, clear earlier because their dad is black and their mom is, I don't know. It doesn't really matter. The point is they're both white and they're both obviously adopted. But he points out that they are adopted from different families and they know who his biological parents are, but they have no idea, and by they I mean the two kids, don't know who Pearl's biological parents are. And so they're like, maybe if we ask them or if we look into it, maybe that'll give us some answers as to why you can breathe underwater or stay underwater for so long, which is like, are you expecting to find out that her parents are Michael Phelps and like another like I don't know what you're expecting. Anyways, so they go home. Like really, what are you expecting to find?
Yeah.
You're either expecting to find out that her parents are mermaids, or you're expecting to find that she's got like Olympic swimmers as her parents.
Yeah.
Which
'cause,
also
like,
wouldn't make sense because Michael Phelps, I mean, maybe some part of it is his genes, but a majority of the reason he's good at swimming is because he's trained a lot.
But also, if we're even going by, like, his, like, because he reads comic books, and, like, I don't really remember what he read, but, like, let's assume he read, like, X-Men or whatever. There are tons of mutants who, like, their parents are just normal.
Yeah, have no powers.
So,
Also, I'm
finding
pretty sure
out
in
her
X-Men it is
family.
carried. I'm pretty sure in X-Men the mutant gene is carried by only one of the parents. I think it's like the mother. I don't know. But it doesn't matter.
But either
Anyways.
way, it's just you could very well find out
I
who
guess
her
it would have to
parents
be the
are
father.
and learn nothing.
Anyways,
That's all I'm saying.
so they go home, and Pearl and Danny are like, they search their parents' adoption stuff, paperwork. There's a folder. In the folder is like a small paper, like envelope. They open the paper envelope. There's a flash drive. They plug the flash drive in. On the flash drive is a folder. The folder is called Pearl. They open the folder. There's a video called Pearl. Can you see how, like, I'm trying to stretch this out because it's very boring? They watch the video. In the video, you see there's a very wholesome, happy memory of the parents are videotaping them in 2003. It says in the corner, 2003. Dad is videotaping mom. They're standing on the beach. They're having a good time, just laughing about something, and they hear a baby crying. And behind her, they find a baby on the beach. And the Danny and Pearl look at each other like, oh my gosh, I was found as a baby on the beach. And then the parents kind of walk in behind them, like walk in on the two kids watching this video, which is like in another context really weird. But
Yeah.
The parents walk in and they're like, oh, Pearl, I'm so sorry. We don't know who your biological parents are. This is honestly how we found you. And the mom says, we never talked about how we would tell you.
Yeah.
And we had to pause while watching this episode to kind of reel at that line. Because, like, I would understand if she said, we never wanted you to find out. I don't agree with that sentiment, but I'd understand it. Or if she said something like,
we weren't sure how to tell you.
yeah, we weren't sure how to tell you. But she said, we never talked about it. Which is like,
We-
how is that not one of the first things that you think, like, you start talking about?
We were just really hoping it'd never come up, even though we know your brother's family and nothing about yours.
Yeah, and like,
I mean, kids just
It's
ask
not
questions.
like you could, like, they knew they were they were not biological related. Like, that was not a secret to Pearl. Pearl was not, until this point, curious enough to ask any questions about where she came from at all. And apparently the parents had not planned for this eventuality at all either. They couldn't have even come up with a lie, like, we found you at the park. Or, like, we found you on the beach, someone left you there. Like, even that as a lie.
Which is the truth.
Which is kind of the truth, but, like, I don't know why you never thought to talk about it with each other.
Yeah, I mean, especially just because, like, even, like, when you adopt a child officially, part of the deal is, like, the birth parents have to, like, give up the rights to the child, basically.
Yeah. And also,
stuff like that.
You found her on the beach, so she didn't have any legal documentation at all, so you would have had to get some of that stuff.
Yeah. Which is, I mean, but that's not that hard, like.
It's not that hard, but I mean, like, she would have found out eventually.
I mean,
because, like,
maybe
there would be a
not.
paper trail.
It took Clark Kent a minute to find out he was from a spaceship, so.
It took him a minute, yeah, but even as a teen, he was able to, like, run really fast and fly.
Well, she can breathe underwater for a decent amount of time.
What a great power. Let me say real quick, this is where I think, this is one of the pivotal moments when the episode really starts to diverge from the point that I think they were going for.
Yeah,
because
it's all about being comfortable in your own skin.
Right, and that's like easy pickings for a show to talk to teens, right? There are a lot of teens going through this very transformative part of their life where they're realizing that they're, realizing things about themselves. And so you could make an episode where someone's realizing these things about their true nature and then they come to accept those things about their true nature. Mm-hmm. But by making it also an adoption story, now we're getting two conflicting angles.
Yeah, now it's like...
Because, like, no one's ever... I mean, yeah, there are a lot of people who find out that they're adopted and it kind of shakes them up. But, like, there are three angles to this, and they all kind of conflict. One of them is there are teens who are going through this thing where they're realizing something about themselves. That's an entirely internal process. It doesn't grant them superpowers. It doesn't give them any kind of special ability. It's just an internal reflection, right? Mm-hmm. Doesn't even need to involve anyone else, except that they're realizing that it doesn't matter what society projects onto them, they can be true to themselves. Then there's this other angle where it's about adoption, coming to terms with who you're where your heritage is from, which is a very different thing than realizing you're gay, for instance, or realizing that you're trans, two very different things. And then there's superpowers, which kind of mucks up the whole thing.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't work for either angle.
Yeah, because
when you realize you're gay, you don't get superpowers. You don't get anything akin to superpowers. And when you realize you're adopted or try to connect with your heritage, you don't get superpowers from that either.
That is one thing with, like, a lot of young adult things in general kind of miss the mark because they always bring some sort of supernatural element. And I feel like that kind of automatically ruins the whole be true to yourself deal, because it's like, if you're saying accept yourself for who you are, find the superhero within you. There's no superhero within me. I can't breathe underwater for a considerable amount of time. I'm just as lame as I was before I watched this episode. But now I know that there's this other...
she's developed something that she now has to adjust to. She was fine with herself before. I mean, she lacked confidence, but she was basically fine with herself as she was. Mm-hmm. And now she's fine with herself at the end of the episode again, but now she has a power. But, like, in my life, when I realized something about myself that I needed to come to terms with, it was not a matter of, like, this thing has its costs, its costs and its benefits. No. The things you need to come to terms with are things that you initially view as pure negatives, and usually end up being neutral. You know,
Yeah.
like somebody who's like coming to terms with the fact that they're gay might feel bad about it initially, and once they've come to terms with it, they realize it's just normal.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and then that's the end of the conversation. It's
Yeah.
no longer. It's not like somebody who's gay goes, now I realize I'm better than everyone. Like, that's not how it works. So the
Yeah.
whole show kind of misses, like, this episode really misses the mark on a lot of different levels here. And it continues to diverge from the potential to make it significantly. Anyways, so she's torn up about the fact that she was found on a beach. She's looking mortified, sad. She runs out of the room, and dad and mom look at each other like, oh, what are we going to do? And then we fade to black, we come back, and I thought, okay, so we're now going to see her working through this emotionally. And instead, what we see is her swimming in the pool, and she's got a big smile on her face, and everyone's cheering for her because she's swimming the 50-meter, I don't know what it's called, the sprint or whatever. She's swimming 50 meters. She does it really fast. She does it in like 10 and a half seconds, under 11 seconds, which is twice the world record pace. And I don't think the show realized that's how fast she was going.
I mean, and it could be, but either way, that brings another thing in that they sort of like nobody really like questions her. Like she straight up at one point that we're about to get into pretty soon, she starts openly using her powers, like not just in front of her family, in the school.
In the school, in front of
And
students, not even in a
nobody.
sneaky way, and nobody really cares.
Which is weird because, like, you know, there's all those, like, X-Men Hulu shows where they're like, we're gonna track down all the mutants and we're gonna ship them to the government. Which is, again, why you shouldn't bring superpowers into a story like this. Because if it's about being comfortable in your own skin, but also don't be too much of yourself because if people find out that
Hold on,
you're
we'll get there in the last, like the epilogue thing, right? Like when they're
Okay.
talking about the curious, they'll really drive home, and I think it'll give you a good example to kind of really put a pin
Drive
in
this
what you want to say.
Okay.
But she swims really fast, and everybody's cheering. And then when the clock stops, and she looks at her time, and she's like, "Oh wow, I was going kind of fast." Like she's kind of used to it. She's happy now, and I'm kind of like, "Oh, I guess we don't get to see her emotionally process the news. She was sad, and now she's happy, and it doesn't matter at all." And
Yeah.
her brother's there, and he's like, "Whoa, that was so fast! That was amazing!" But the rest of the school, the people who were cheering, they just turn on their heel and leave. And I'm like, "Do you have a place to be? Like a class? Was this class watching one student swim the 50 meters in 11 seconds and then leave? How is this school organized? This can't be a place of learning. No one learns anything here." But she goes,
learn how to change rooms.
I guess. So she says, like, well, you know, I'm feeling a lot better now. And you see her walking down the hall, and she pulls out her phone, and she pulls up the app that lets her invite people to the party, and she sends a reminder. And then as she's walking down the hall, she sees people getting their phones out and getting the reminder, and she goes, and you see this, like, wavy pattern, and you'll see it in the thumbnail. There's, like, this, this kind of oscillating effect thing, like a warping of the waves of the air or something. She kind of does that and whistles, and the people who are looking at the invites are saying, "Yes, I'm going. And so she appears to be able to manipulate other people's thoughts. And at this point, she's being a little bit subtle about it. Not that subtle, but she's being a little bit subtle. And she goes to that place where the Pui, the marine conservationist or whatever, is putting away her stuff. And I'm like, I don't know if you had another lecture or what, but she's putting away her stuff, and Pearl says, "Oh, you're leaving already?" And Pui says, "Yeah, I have another rally, but yeah, that's the end of my whatever." And I'm like, another rally? Was that what this was? This wasn't a rally. You were teaching, you had, what? Like, what is this school? And so she turns around and she sees Pearl and she goes, "Oh wow, you look great. Wow." And I'm like so mad about this because like the camera shows Pearl and all that's changed is she's wearing a different jacket and she's got her hair down. She's wearing the same school uniform she was before. And I'm like, the main difference now is that she's smiling. But of course she wasn't smiling the first time you saw her. You called her out in front of the whole class. Why would she smile then? Of course she was upset then. But fine, whatever. Pearl says, "Your advice worked." And Pui's like, you have this power to convince people. Should you be using it to invite people to parties, or do you want to use that power to change the world? And I'm like, whoa, lady, how do you know all that? Pearl doesn't care. Pearl doesn't ask. So Pui is like,
No, she doesn't.
she doesn't ask. I'm like, why don't you ask? But like, Pearl is like, well, I don't know what I can do. And she's like, well, if you can convince one person of one thing, you can convince hundreds of anything. And I'm like, Pui, are you trying to get this girl to start a cult? I don't like you. I don't like this. And Pearl is like, yeah, I guess. And she's like, you should come to our next rally. And so Pearl is like, yeah, okay, I'll come to the rally.
Oh, right. And then I think we go straight to the rally.
We go straight to the rally, which by rally we mean the post-rally, because they didn't want to hire any extras. And instead we see the beach, and there's some rocks, and they've put some signs up around there, but there's nobody else. And Pearl and Pui are standing by the sea, and they're like, take it in. And I'm sorry I did that because I got some Chinese food in my nose when I did that just now. And Pearl goes, wow, yeah, this is great. I feel so at home by the sea. And Pui's like, wink, basically straight to the audience. And I'm like, oh my god, I get it. She's a mermaid.
Yeah.
This is not subtle. Stop trying to drop hints.
It's weird. Well, then they start talking about it, and then she's like, finally, at this point, she just tells her the gig, right? She's like...
Does she?
I believe that this is the time where she's like...
Well, she says, am I a mermaid? And then Pui says, like, that's the word that humans came up with for... Like, that's a thing humans came up with. Or something like that.
So...
Something like that.
Yeah, but then... So, like, they already
Or maybe that happens... No, I think that happens later.
Okay, well, either way...
It doesn't matter, because...
So, next thing, she's at school after her rally thing, and she is just feeling so empowered, and Pui has just awoken the water goddess within her, and she's on top of the world. And her brother is
I kind of feel like... I don't think they were trying to, but it's like... It feels like the way the dialogue is written makes it seem like Pui made a woman out of Pearl. And Danny, her brother, is like, yo, I'm really not cool with this.
Yeah,
Pui
actually,
person.
Yeah, you know what, now that, especially, yeah.
Which is, again, another weird angle to kind of draw your analogy.
Because then,
show.
because it's like feel comfortable in your skin, and then like this older person shows you
the way, and I'm like,
ew, that's sus. Okay, so Danny's like, I'm kind of concerned you're not really acting like yourself. And she's like, why? Because I'm not a loser anymore. You know that whole thing.
She calls him a dirty little land dweller.
Yeah, she does. Which, if any of you guys ever watch the show H2O, then you will know that mermaids are the most racist of all magical people. Mm-hmm. I think because, I guess more so than, I never watched Harry Potter, but more so than just calling people muggles, which sounds very bad too, but more than just
Muggle is not a slur in the Harry Potter world. Mudblood is the slur.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But, from the clips I've seen of trailers and stuff, people, they throw muggle around an awful lot.
And that's just it. It's not a slur. Muggle is just the word for a non-magical person. There is a word if your parents were wizards and you are a muggle, you're called a squib. And that is sometimes considered a slur.
Okay.
Like, being a squib is considered... It's not, open-minded people aren't like mean about it, but there are a lot of people who are.
Okay, well, I guess we're just sort of talking
Anyway,
about two other franchises that are more
yeah,
interesting than
no, this
this.
is why I told you to shut up.
Okay.
Okay, so
All right.
shut up, you idiot. All right.
Come here for the lull, stay for the abuse.
Yikes. So it's okay. They're idiots too. The now you got me. Oh, right. So she and Danny are talking about like how that's how it's so bad to be a dirty human or whatever, and Danny's like, I don't know if this is Pooey's got. I mean, she's being like, it seems. I'm glad that you're happy, but like, you're also kind of being really mean. And then you see this kid who's like walking around class, and he looks like this extra looks like he was either not paid or he was paid to look really bored. And he's carrying a bottle of water, and he starts drinking from it, and he's like, oh, whatever. And instead of trying to toss it towards the trash can, he just drops it near the trash can. Like, he couldn't care less. And he's just walking away, and she's like, hey, pick that up. And he just looks back at her and keeps walking. And she goes, hey! And he's like, oh. Right? And he turns around, except in the shots where we can see his face, he looks still extremely bored. Like, just like, my cue is to stand here until the scene ends. Yeah. So here I stand. And people in the hallway are like looking at her like because she shouted. Mm-hmm. And then he's standing there, and she uses her like whistly power, except this time she's screaming. And when she screams, it pushes the trash can over to him, and then the trash can goes poosh, and a bunch of trash flies out. And Danny's like, what the heck was that? And
everybody saw this.
Yeah, everybody saw it, and this kid, like, sees her use magic powers to push a trash can towards him, and he starts, like, nervously putting all the trash in the trash can, and she's like, polluting can be dangerous, or something like that, and just storms off. And I'm like, that was not a good line. It was not even memorable enough for me to get it quoted. And so, then, finally, they go home.
I don't remember
and
what
Danny
it was.
Stops her again.
Wrong.
Yeah. Danny stops her again. And he goes, what the heck was that? And she's like, dirty humans always polluting things. And then Danny's like, what? And she uses her powers to pull a chair up and then force him to sit down.
Yeah, they're home now, by the way.
Yeah, they're at home. Back at home.
I guess it was after school when she did that.
They had no conversation on the way. Okay. Why would they? There's nothing to talk about.
Right. Okay.
No one has anything to talk about to her, including all the people who saw her use her magic powers. And probably the people whose eardrums have erupted from that screaming.
Yeah.
Anyways,
yeah.
So
she's got. I guess the way to describe it is she's kind of got like a banshee thing going on.
Yeah. And so she uses her psychic powers to make him sit down in the chair, and she just starts screaming at him with her sound waves. And we might use one of the stills from this as the thumbnail. We haven't decided yet.
We've got a few of every warble we took a picture of.
Yeah, we took a picture at the different times.
But yeah, okay, so he's like sitting in the chair and he's like, Pearl, stop. And she's like, ah!
It hurts so much.
And then
and it's like, okay, God.
And then her
sucks.
parents run in and they're like, Pearl. And then
Pearl, what are you doing? And she's like, Mom, Dad, no. And she runs away.
Can we pause for a second? Because honestly, okay, you've got two children. You walk in on one, I guess. I don't know what, I guess because we never really see it through. We don't really know the damage it can do. Would she have killed it?
Yes. I would guess, yes.
So your daughter just tried to kill
Scream blast, yeah.
Your daughter just tried to murder your son, and you're just like lightly scold her. She runs off, and they don't talk about this again. We don't see any repercussions.
Well, yeah, of course they don't. They're scared of her. She'll scream their heads off, literally.
Yeah. Okay. Continue. I just needed to address that really
Yeah.
quick.
So she
Okay.
runs away, and she goes. Hold on. So she runs away, and she goes to look for Pui, and she finds an Pui's office, and she like pokes her head in and says, "Hello, Pui told me about this place." And like nobody responds, and I'm like, I don't know who you think you're talking to. I thought you thought Pui was here, but she like wanders into the back room and finds Pui sleeping in a large tank of water. And like they try to make it like a spooky thing, like the music is ramping up and the room is dark, and I'm like, why are you trying to convince us this is spooky? We know what's about to happen. She's about to come out of the water, and sure enough, she does. But like. What's the spook? We know she's like some kind of mermaid or whatever.
Well, I think they were trying to keep it from a sort of.
Yeah, I guess they really thought we wouldn't know because the two of them go to the beach and Pui explains that no, they are not mermaids. They're sirens. And I'm like, okay, I don't think they planned it as a twist like that.
But what's weird though is that because she keeps saying that's the history that humans made, and at one point she uses, before she clarifies that they're sirens, she uses like a mermaid language, like or whatever she says.
Blah, 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 blah. Yeah.
Which, okay, fine, we're not mermaids, we're hashilafu or whatever you're gonna say.
No. She says they're sirens. She uses the English word for it.
No,
I don't have a problem.
I'm saying I have a problem with it because before she clarified that they are sirens, she said this. She used the language, and then she says we're not, because like humans just decided that we're this and that. But humans have also referred to you as sirens, so you can't not like one designation and take the other.
Well, I think what she's saying is that sirens exist and aren't mermaids because mermaids have some distinctions from sirens that like. For instance, I'm pretty sure sirens don't have fishtails. Right? And so she's saying humans made up mermaids. They're completely mythical. But sirens exist in the bottom of the ocean and they've made a paradise down there. And humans are disgusting and horrible and they're land dwellers. And we're sirens. And the reason she's using the word siren is because it's in English. And Pearl doesn't speak whatever siren language.
But I think you naturally speak the language because remember she said things in the mermaid language, in the siren language. She said them,
and then Pearl never showed any kind of recognition of what she said.
No, but I guess that was.
I mean, like, I don't have a problem with this because I don't think it's implied that Pearl knows what she's saying, and I think Pui is speaking English because that's the language she knows will be understood.
Yeah, right. I still
like
think...
you have to learn the new language, you know.
Yeah,
like just because my parents are from a certain part of India doesn't mean I speak Malayalam.
No.
You know? And so if somebody speaks to me in Malayalam, I look at them and go, "Sorry, I don't know."
Yeah, I guess. Even
though I'm also a mermaid. Ah! Okay, so after she says like, you know, we're sirens. You should come with me to the ocean. And Pearl is like, are you the one who's been whispering to me the whole time? And like Pui's like, yup. I've just been trying to guide you. And I'm like,
which again, bad implications if we're going with this whole...
it's weird.
Because again, this older person helped this uncomfortable teen get comfortable in their own skin and have been sending secret messages to them that nobody else knew about. That's some weird territory you're getting into.
Yeah, where are you going? Where are you going, Joe? I don't like it. And so, she, then suddenly Danny Danny runs up and he says, Pearl, you can't go with her. I followed you here because I was worried about you. And I'm like, you were far enough away that you wouldn't have heard what they were talking about.
I mean, honestly, though, I'm with Danny. It doesn't
I agree
matter
with
what
Danny.
they were talking about.
I agree with Danny. She's like gesturing towards the sea, like, "Hey, come with me."
Also,
But like,
3 seconds with this woman and she almost tried to kill you.
who? Pearl?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's true. Anyways, so Pui's like, "No, Danny sucks." And she uses her powers on Danny. And this part of the episode really stinks. And I love watching shows or movies where they have lots of special effects for superpowers and then trying to imagine what the film must have looked like before the superpowers were applied.
Oh my goodness.
Because it must have just been like, all right, I'm going to focus up the camera on your face. Now I want you to just scream. Ah! All right, now you. Ah! And they just scream at each other for a little bit. And instead of it being like 2 screams coming at each other at the same time, and there's like a clash of... No, they don't have the effect budget.
It was a proper joust.
It was truly a proper joust, or maybe even just a contest, because Pearl screams, and then Pui screams a little louder, and then Pearl screams a little louder, and they take turns going back and forth. And finally Pui says, "Stop! Enough! Jeez! Come with me, Pearl." And Pearl's like, "No, the land is my home." And Pui's like, you stink. And Pui just walks away.
Into the ocean, mind you.
Into the ocean, and it's not like, we don't see an effect of her, like, going back into, she just walks into the ocean.
She's wearing her streetwear.
And it's like, that was lame. And Pearl and Danny are standing there going like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe we made it out of that alive, I guess. I guess that was a risk." And so, finally, we go back home, and Pearl is sitting on her bed, and you can see there's the setup for her birthday party, and her parents walk into the room, and she's doing something on her phone.
No.
Or maybe it's on her computer, I don't know. And her parents are like, "Okay, well, everything's set. I hope you're ready for a great birthday party." And Pearl says, "I canceled it." And the parents are like, "Oh, why?" And you and I are like, why? Because, like... What?
Yeah. Parties ain't cheap, lady.
The day of the party, and they're like supposed to arrive in like 45 minutes.
Also,
and you've canceled on everyone, and Mom and Dad bought all the theme for the party, and set it all up.
What's the etiquette if you bought this girl a gift?
Trash it. I don't know. Keep it.
If you got her a gift, which honestly, like, who's giving anything besides gift cards anymore? So that's yours now. So you spend it. This episode, I love that this episode is so boring that it also just turned into, like, our little how to be a proper guest.
And apparently how to throw a proper party, because, like,
so do we need to start writing Wiki House, though?
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
So she cancels this party, and her parents don't mind, and she says, "I'd rather spend the day with you guys, you know?" And I'm like, "Yeah, maybe, but maybe you should have said that before being about to throw the party. What am I supposed to do with all this cake? Huh?"
Yeah, at least, like, that was what was weird. I'm not even, like, I'm kind of, like, it's weird that you canceled your party at all. You should have just gone through with the party. But, personal growth or whatever. But when were you planning on telling them? Were you just hoping they forgot about it?
I mean, it's rude to your parents. It's not particularly rude to your brother. He was going to be there anyways. But your parents paid for stuff, and all the guests who said they were coming now have nothing to do.
Yeah, but again, what? Because she's just like sitting there chilling on her computer, and then the mom and dad come and they're like, "Hey, aren't you gonna get ready for your party?" She's like, "Nah, I canceled it." But like again,
I got the vibe she canceled it right then and there.
Okay, but
maybe she canceled it earlier. Either way, she needed to tell her parents she was planning on canceling it.
Yeah.
Anyways,
because maybe they would have, like, instead of, like, buying this party, would have taken you out to a nice dinner, which is also something
maybe they would have just put all the stuff away. They wouldn't have spent money on the stupid theme and the streamers. up in the
Yeah.
house. You've just made a big chore.
Yeah. I mean, I'm assuming.
You
Well,
little
okay.
idiot.
Yeah, she.
Anyways, you only turn 15 once. Then we see a thing. It fades to black. Fades back in. It says 1 year later. And
Well,
we
it says
see.
like 16th birthday.
Well, no, it says 1 year later. And on the wall it says 16th birthday.
Oh, okay.
And she's getting ready for bed. And then we see her walk into her room. And instead of a regular old bed, we see they've got like a little tank of water that she like gets into. And she's like about to go to sleep in this tank of water. And I'm like, why didn't you take out the carpet?
But
The
also,
resale value on this house is going to be total crap.
but all like, or at least like some mats or something for our benefit.
But yeah, she climbs into the
Also,
pool
like, I
and she
have
looks
so
up at us and I'm
many
like, you can't
questions.
fall asleep with your eyes open, you idiot.
But
And
I have
then,
so many questions. Like, one, how
hold
do they
on.
change?
Yeah, go
Okay.
ahead.
How do they change out the water?
Yeah.
I guess
Did they
do
redo
they
the plumbing for this? If they did, like, I understand it
Yeah.
trying to accommodate for your
Her-
for your daughter, right?
Yeah.
If she's another species, which she apparently is. I think I would like to think that I would still try to accommodate that. On the other hand, she is also capable of sleeping in a bed.
And she has for ages. I guess that's the other thing too. Like, she likes swimming and stuff. So like, maybe if you got like an indoor pool area or outdoor pool, or I
Yeah,
don't know,
or
something that was like her place to swim. But like, she doesn't grow a tail. It seemed like she was on the track to join the swim team.
yeah, at the very least, she should join the swim team
I
and
don't.
probably Olympic swim team.
Yeah,
I mean,
but
I'm
like,
pretty sure you can join the Olympic swim team even if you're like under 18.
so how? But oh, like, and we talked about this a little bit. Like, but how's the rest of her life gonna go? How's she gonna get married? How's she going to go to college? How's she gonna? How's she gonna anything? Because she needs to sleep in a bathtub now.
Real quick, I just wanted to say I wanted to know who is the youngest person to compete in the Olympics, and this doesn't really tell me anything, but this is just an interesting fact, fun fact. I don't even know if it's true, but when I Googled youngest member in Olympics, which is not a great Google, I admit, apparently there was a Greek gymnast in the year 1900, so this was a long time ago, who got the gold at age 10.
That sounds bad.
What do you mean bad? That's awesome.
I don't like when young children do things like that.
I mean, there was a time when the Olympics was so unregulated that like anybody could join and you could just like if you wanted to, you could just join as like a rando and just completely wipe out. But it's cool that he was 10 and he got the gold. Like that's pretty cool.
If he was happy.
I mean, this was 1900s. They didn't have helicopter parenting yet.
No. But people
Anyways,
still. I mean, people
we've got
still
like
think-
we've got one thing left in this episode.
Okay. Right.
Okay, so the Curious, the epilogue. The Curious is like crouched by the ocean, and he sticks like a little vial of glass in the water, and he like collects a sample from the beach. And I'm like, what is this? It doesn't mean anything. You just needed him near the beach. You could have had him picking up seashells.
Right.
And the narrator is saying some stuff about being comfortable in your own skin. And then this is the part where I think they really drive a nail into whatever point they were trying to make. And it's the narrator asks what happens when the danger comes from within you. As in, like, what do you do when
Yeah,
you
so it
find out that you're
opens-
dangerous and that danger, like, your family or friends or whatever are in danger, and that danger is from within you. And at that point, whatever message they were trying to like get to is completely ruined because like
Yeah.
being gay or like an unusual gender or an uncommon sexuality or being adopted Doesn't matter what angle you come at this from.
Yeah.
None of those things are dangerous.
Yeah.
So, like...
anything that has to do with, like, being comfortable in your own skin. Like, anything that sets you apart from everybody else. Maybe you like theater, even. Maybe you're, whatever.
Maybe you're really into knitting or fishing or...
and nobody else.
Just yoga. Like, I don't care. Something that sets you apart. What if it's dangerous? Like, why are you doing that?
Because, well, this is kind of like what we talked about with Trolled. But, like, they definitely, by naming the show Creeped Out, they sort of lock themselves into this box. Like, Twilight Zone, there were some episodes that were creepy. There were some episodes that were just kind of made you think.
And some of them were even kind of fun and funny.
Yeah, because they had like this isn't. It's
the Twilight Zone is a place where unusual things happen.
Yeah, so but because it's like creeped out, it's like we need to. It starts off with whatever it starts off with, and if they have a good point or not, it has to end with them being like, "We're gonna scare you somehow," because you need to be creeped out if you watch this. Like, it's an unfortunate, I don't know, thing they forced upon themselves, I guess.
They've really shackled themselves to something very stupid.
Yeah.
Anyway,
since they don't succeed at anything they try.
Yeah. Okay, well, let me get to some trivia here, and then we can kind of wrap this up. So this episode is called The Call. Mm-hmm. I think the episode title is actually kind of appropriate, sort of. She's called to the ocean or whatever. It's the 6th episode of the first season, as it originally aired.
Okay.
And after this episode, they took a month-long hiatus. And I don't know if it was that the show was so bad that everybody needed to take a break, or if maybe it was some kind of production schedule or whatever, but I believe this is the end of part 1 of season 1.
Okay.
Then also this is the second episode of Creeped Out to have superpowers canonically, which is the first was Jessie from Slapstick. Also in Slapstick, they used the setting of Carter Bay, the little thing, and that's the same place that was in this episode, so yippee.
Okay, so since we have so many episodes now, it's kind of hard to go through them all. Which would you say is your least favorite, and which would you say is your favorite?
It's hard for me to say whether this or Shed No Fear is my least favorite.
I think that I think this is my least favorite now. I think Shed No Fear, while being painstakingly boring, has slightly more entertainment value than this did. Although, but then again, there's still merit.
This one's super obvious.
Yeah.
Right? Like, Shed No Fear is a confusing mess that's also boring. This one's really obvious and boring. And I have no idea which is better.
I will say, though, that, there is the entertainment factor, and I do very much enjoy watching them banshee each other in The Call. So maybe...
That's true.
Yeah, so maybe Shed No Fear
There wasn't a moment like that in Shed No Fear.
Yeah, so I'll say that Shed No Fear is still my least favorite.
Just barely edges out Shed No Fear.
And my most favorite is still Marty.
Well, yeah, no. Yeah. And which one? Marty is still your favorite?
Mm-hmm.
I guess Marty, because, yeah. As far as entertainment value, yeah.
Marty, I can just watch Marty over and over again.
Because it's a very dumb episode.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, that basically wraps up our final thoughts. Thank you for really powering through this episode of Creeped Out with us. Episode 9 is gonna be, oh gosh, I don't even remember. Well, whatever. Stay tuned for episode 9 of Creeped Out, and remember to like and subscribe. Bye.
Later.